end of the year, right? They don't tell any of us that, right? So it's kind of up to your interpretation of what you feel that should be done, right? They have obvious ones like, oh, make a community, right? Everyone knows about that. But they don't tell you what you should do with the floor or what like should end up occurring, right? It's very like, they give you goals and outlines, but they're pretty like general, like stuff that you should obviously do, right? So for me, like I set my own goals for what I want, right? I want like, for example, there's 2 residents of mine that don't like each other right now. They used to in the beginning and used to be good friends, but as the year progressed, they got into some fights, right? So a personal goal I have is make sure those 2 end up getting along during carnival at least, right? Or another one would be, a big one for me was make sure that tangent story here, but last year I lived in Hammerschlag, which as many people know is an all-male storm, right? But the camaraderie at Hammerschlag is really good. Like, it's fantastic, right? Everyone who lived in Hammerschlag are just like, you lived there too, I did too, good times type thing, right? Like, it gets a bad rep because it's an all-male dorm, and it should, but overall, the experiences I had there really propelled me to think, okay, this year as an RA, I want to do the same thing, right? I want to create kind of that bond between each other for my first year residents, so that next year, even if they have like no to hang out with and they somehow become losers or something, they'll at least have their floor from last year to hang out with still. So that was my own personal mission I kind of set out for myself that student life never really told me to do, right? So because of that, I guess I feel like I have a lot of freedom.
Okay, right. So how does that play into the relationship of trust between you and the organization? You report once in a while, right? RAs have meetings with those above them. How exactly do they, how do you talk with the CAs or anybody above you about what you're doing, and how do they check up on what you're doing?
So I think student life is great in the sense that we meet up with our CAs and house fellows a lot, right? Usually it's bi-weekly for each person, which means once a week you're either meeting with your CA or your house fellow, right? And I think that's a really good system because it immediately allows more trust to grow and more of you yourself to get more relaxed with the person, right? So now since I met up with my CA and house fellow so often, I just, I talk to them about what's going on in the dorm, what's going on in the community, but I can also feel comfortable talking to them about like my life, about, oh crap, I just failed this exam, or oh crap, I have an OB project due soon, So in that sense, I really like the system they have to get along with, I guess, your bosses, because you grow a very personal friendship with them.
Do they report at all on what you're doing? Do you like, if you talk about a situation, will they recommend a specific approach next time, or is there ever criticism of how you handled something, or is it mostly just you kind of touch base and they continue to have this sort of blind faith in what you do?
So they definitely give suggestions. Community advisor CAs, they're elected. I'm sorry, not elected. They're picked from former RAs. So they already have a lot of experience of like kind of dealing with the situation that you might have before, right? Because although I've only been an RA 1 year, I bet you anything, there's always an alcohol situation at least once every year, right? So I talked to my CA about that when I had my alcohol situation in the residential dorm when I was on duty.
Can you describe that situation?
There's a lot of confidentiality on that, but long story short, I just found a bunch of people drinking. And then they're not supposed to be drinking because it's a freshman dorm, so I had to lay down the law.
Oh man.
Yeah, but what
did that entail?
So
Calling the police or?
Wait, do we want to get into that now, or should we like ask that as the final question and go into?
I mean, well, it just led into the final question, so you might as well.
So, and in this situation, I guess I was a little bit rebellious in a sense, because it was during the beginning of the year. So I didn't think it was right calling the police immediately. It was during the first 6 weeks. So, real fast tangent story. We in the RA world, everyone considers the first 6 weeks of college the most important for anyone, right? That's when you find your group of friends. That's when you first getting into classes. That's when you figure out everything, right? And if something happens during that time, it tends to impact you pretty strongly throughout, right? So for me, because it was so early, I felt that, this is not the right time to, just like call them up and then completely destroy them for the like entire year, right? Because then they would have had community service, they had a lot of obligations and wouldn't have enjoyed their freshman year. Plus, that would have put a strain on almost my, not my respect for me, but their trust for me, right? So I felt it was better to bust them, be incredibly harsh and be incredibly strict, and have them discuss it with multiple other people, so such as the CA, the house fellow, and everyone like that, and then they can decide what to do, right? So in that sense, I kind of, wormed my way out of the, intensity of it, or what I was supposed to do, because I didn't feel it was right for the situation. But what's great about it is, after making that decision, I talked with my CA and my house fellow about it, right? Like, did I do the right thing? Because what we're supposed to do is just call the police, you're in trouble, not my fault type, right? But I talked to them and they were like, yeah, although you didn't follow the protocol and we were a little annoyed at you by that, we still find that there was a good amount of validity to what you did, right? And that's as vague as I can really go. I mean, I don't think I can really go more in depth because a lot of that's confidential.
Yeah, so I think that that's it. Thank you.